You are not living a life that is yours. You are performing in a life designed by others, approved by the crowd, maintained by fear, and reinforced by silence. That realization is not easy. It does not come in a flash. It arrives slowly through unease, through frustration, through quiet moments of doubt when no one is watching. You look around and everything seems fine. You are educated, polite, productive. You follow the rules. People like you. But deep inside, you know something feels off. Something feels borrowed. You click on videos like this not to learn something new, but to finally name what you have felt for years. The heaviness. The disconnection. The quiet voice that keeps asking, is this all there is? Confucius never used modern language. He did not talk about identity, or self-actualization, or mental health. But he saw this pattern centuries ago. He spoke about the dangers of conformity, the hollowness of unexamined virtue, and the quiet tragedy of living without knowing yourself. Today, we will look at 7 signs you may be living a life that is not truly yours and why Confucius, if he were alive today, would warn you with compassion but with urgency. You always say the right thing. You are agreeable, flexible, easy to work with. You avoid conflict, you stay out of drama, and people describe you as pleasant and nice. But the truth is, you have become so skilled at adapting to others that you no longer know what you actually think. When someone asks for your opinion, you pause, not because you are thoughtful, but because you are scanning for what is acceptable. You are not filtering for truth. You are filtering for safety. Confucius said, "To see what is right and not do it is the want of courage." That courage begins not with action, but with clarity. And clarity is impossible when your mind has been trained to please. You cannot find your own voice if your only skill is echoing others. Another sign, your life looks good from the outside, but it feels hollow on the inside. You followed the checklist. Education, job, partner, routine. You did everything correctly, but you feel no joy. You smile in pictures, but your chest feels heavy when you are alone. You get through the week, but you do not feel alive. That is not failure. That is not depression. That is the result of constructing a life that meets expectations, but ignores essence. Confucius believed that a life of virtue is a life of alignment, between your thoughts, your actions, and your values. If your actions are correct, but your heart is silent, you are living someone else's script. You constantly need approval to feel secure. When you are praised, you feel safe. When you are criticized, you feel shattered. Your confidence rises and falls with external validation. That is not confidence. That is dependency. Confucius warned against chasing reputation. He said, "The superior man is modest in his speech, but exceeds in his actions." But when you live for the image, you cannot tolerate being misunderstood. So you begin to shrink, to bend, to perform. True self-respect begins when you can stand firm in silence, knowing your actions are aligned, even if no one claps. You often feel tired, but not physically. You feel emotionally exhausted from carrying roles that do not fit you. At work, you are the reliable one. At home, you are the peacekeeper. Among friends, you are the one who listens but never shares. And the more you play these roles, the more invisible you become to yourself. Confucius taught that identity is not found in performance, but in principle. You cannot find peace by being everything for everyone. You find peace by being true to something, even if it costs you attention. You struggle to say no. Even when your body says no, your mouth says yes. You agree to tasks, commitments, and conversations that drain you. Why? Because you are afraid that setting a boundary will make you unlikable. You confuse being kind with being available. But Confucius taught that respect begins with the self. He said, when we see men of worth, we should think of equaling them. When we see men of a contrary character, we should turn inward and examine ourselves. Turning inward means listening to your own limits, your own capacity. If you cannot honor your own time, no one else will. You often imagine escaping. Not vacations. Escape. You fantasize about quitting, disappearing, moving somewhere new where no one knows your name. That desire is not just about geography, it is a symptom of disconnection. When you cannot breathe as yourself, every place feels like a prison. Confucius spoke of returning, not escaping. He believed that peace comes not from running, but from returning to who you were before the world told you who to be. And finally, you are always performing. Every conversation is edited. Every interaction is calculated. You show the version of yourself that is safest. But deep down, you wonder, if people really knew me, would they stay? You are not alone. Most people feel this. Most people live entire lives as strangers to themselves. But Confucius gave us another way. A way rooted not in rebellion, but in return. Return to stillness. Return to reflection. Return to alignment. Living your truth is not loud. It is not perfect. It is not always admired. But it is yours. And that is enough. So ask yourself, not someday, but today, whose life are you really living, and if it is not yours, when will you begin? If any part of what you just heard made something inside you pause, do not ignore it. That discomfort is not a problem. It is your guide. It is the voice of the life you are meant to live, the one buried beneath years of performance, pleasing, and pretending. Begin with one step. Not a plan. Not a full vision. Just one decision that is truly yours. Maybe it is saying no when you always said yes. Maybe it is telling the truth, even if it shakes the room. Maybe it is sitting alone for the first time, without needing to prove anything. Confucius believed that a single act of virtue, done with full awareness, could reshape a life. Not because of its size, but because of its sincerity. You do not have to fix your entire life today. But you must stop betraying yourself one small choice at a time. Honor your own voice. Honor your own pace. Honor your own path. Because no matter what you have built, no matter how deep the roles and routines go, it is never too late to come home to yourself.